Now listen, when it comes to JID, before we go any further into this today, as this is going to be one of the most important videos of the year, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, because for the future of hip-hop, there are a few rappers and statements in terms of albums, and also the interviews that JID just dropped alongside it, that are more pivotal to what the genre will be doing next than with everything that JID has kicked off with his brand new record, God Does Like Ugly. And with this, it's now time to have some serious conversations about what JID just tried to claim in hip-hop, where he really ranks, and if this album was worth the years of hype. So once again, I will say, before we dive deep into every single facet of this album and the interviews that JID cut out alongside them, leave those likes, because this is going to be a good one today. As with the release of this long-awaited project, well, first off, what is clear now with just the last month of rap releases or so as a whole, is now that from the clips and Let God Sort Them Out, Freddie Gibbs and the Alchemist Alfredo to this, we are in a moment where lyrical rap is at the center of things, and all of the genre's biggest releases are coming from real MCs, which in and of itself is great, because people actually have to pay attention to lyrical rap. And with what JID is trying to do with this very project compared to Pusha and Malice and Freddie Gibbs, as he is a younger MC from a different generation, the mantle that he is carrying is different, as it is setting the tone for what newer MCs and rappers should expect going forward from the leader of the current classes. And what you become very sure of as you press play on this thing and see everything JID has done to prepare us and welcome us into the world that he has created, is that over everything else you want to say, JID clearly does understand the pressure and the responsibility of things at the very least, because he straight up tells everyone on the intro track, "You ugly," how the rap game has been decayed and how the culture need to be taken back, through frustrations about fan culture and first week sales talk, as JID says the lines. And fans argue about record sales like they execs themselves. It's like we all under a spell. And still, I hope this message reaches you well. And then later in the track, when JID is talking about where his value as a rapper is based in this landscape and culture, JID expands on all of this with one of my favorite lines of the year, as he vents and says, "Just took a effing ceiling challenge to show you I'm above my peers. Be serious." And now with all these lines and the sentiments on this track, which is supported by the Fly God himself, quick shout out to JID for putting Westside on this track, because his support here added a lot to the moment. What is clear in what JID lines out in this record compared to his last one, which was more of a personal autobiography, is that here he is really coming for the crown, and he is tired of the trash state that rap has been in, and is ready for a complete pivot. And now clearly with the experience that JID crafted throughout the rest of this album, what you understand when you hear a track like The Powerful Glory or VCRs, which has an incredible Vince Staples feature, is that JID didn't craft this album for industry games and streaming boosts, but he wanted to make a long-standing experience like hip-hop greats in the past used to. And when you just hear songs flow together and make sense, and features well placed, and nothing feels gimmicky, you see, and this is so groundbreaking especially for a newer artist, that JID is ready to take advantage of the time we are in, and he wants to jump up the rap power rankings to the highest spot he possibly can. And speaking of taking advantage of this very moment, well, nothing is more telling of the times we are in than JID becoming the first beneficiary of the return of the Clips in terms of album performances, as now for the first time as a duo since releasing their insanely incredible return album. Well, JID managed to get Pusha and Malice on this record for the track Community. And with this, they created a super pivotal song in a lot of ways, because on one hand, it is showing us how in this new era in rap, regardless of the time they have come in, the best rappers are continuing to stick together and show game to one another, and make the best art they possibly can, which is super cool and is what hip-hop is about in full circle. And beyond just this, for the Clips, it is revealing that they are ready to show up on anybody's album and just make sure that everyone knows that they are one of the best duos of all time, and they are ready for whatever the industry wants to throw at them. Because really, with this track, this is hands down one of the best rapping cuts we have gotten all year that's not on that Clips album. As between JID, who, when he drops the Dune reference on this verse, I just lost it. It was one of the hardest things I have heard in a while. And then Pusha had a great verse, and Malice, who closed things out over an intense soul sample beat. And once again, Malice may have got the best of all of the other competition. Well, this is just pure rap cinema, and something that if you don't like, I'm sorry. I don't know how else to say it, you don't like rap music. And now, while there is a lot going on within this album from JID, not just in terms of the track list and 57-minute runtime, but also within all of the beat switches, flow changes, and storytelling in general. What I really do appreciate about this record is that no moment feels like it lasts too long or is quite the same. Well, within all of this, what connects this album and sets it apart as an essential experience in this era and in this year where it feels like hip-hop is being won back is that, well, something like the Clips and what they did together
feels like classic New York hip-hop evolved and modernized at the highest level possible, what JID is doing here, in the big picture, feels like a proof of concept for how new rappers can make genuinely great albums that manage to embody so many different aspects of how music has progressed and how it can all come together to make even a classic album. Because while JID has the clips on this record for an insane rapping cut, he also has Don Toliver vibing out here with really strong vocals on the track What We Own, and with the duality that balances so much of what hip-hop can be in the best and most tasteful ways. Listen, as a new voice in an era where most new voices are not even worth listening to, I really respect how much JID is trying here. And I think if all rappers from this newer class and era came with as much intention in their records as JID, whether it was with their features, sequencing, and just track design and layout, hip-hop would have never sunk to the place that it did at one point. But I think with this run that we are seeing now, which is being carried on by so many different great MCs from so many different eras, I think now after seeing the current superstars like Kendrick and Tyler carry on that feeling, Freddie Gibbs jump in, then have a legend like the Clips do what they're doing, and now a newer artist like JID passing things forward as well, I do think with all these rappers who are contributing great things, there's a common theme between all of them that is restoring a feeling that has been missed in hip-hop for so long. And while it's kind of hard to even describe and put into words, when you understand these records and listen to them, you can start to see what I'm saying. And really now the best way I could describe this all comes from what Tyler the Creator said in a recent interview with Zane Lowe, as when he was talking about himself and the Clips record, he was saying everything was so visceral within its ideas and sound that from the most pure level, with how real and poignant the expression we are witnessing is, it's not just music, but these records transcend and do something that a lot of classic rap albums in eras past did, which is tap into one of rap's core aspects, spirituality. And as Tyler was saying that the Clips album is really a gospel record because of how it does this so well, I do think if we look at what the Clips did, kind of like that, really from both the title to the songs and the expression within this record, we could say the exact same thing about what JID is doing here. And I mean that in the best way possible. And just to build on this, as JID said in an interview with Joe Budden, which we are going to get into everything else he said there because there was a lot of important stuff, how ultimately it was his grandmother, who is no longer here, who gave him the title for this record. Well, he even doubled down on the spirituality himself as he explained that these records become something so much bigger than him. Because even for his rap name Jay, for example, he says that his other grandmother gave him that name. And overall, when JID makes music and when he's coming to the booth to make this album that we are hearing, he's not just carrying himself or his love for hip-hop on his back, but he is carrying the lineage of who he is and his family. And I think you could really hear that in this record, and I think it makes everything all the more powerful. And now, with all of this, while JID has dropped this album and people are going crazy right now with this entire moment in hip-hop, and where there have been some rumors of issues going around in Dreamville and the release of this record from JID, well, with JID now also being back outside and doing interviews to give us some context on this record and even what's coming on the deluxe, we are finding out a lot of things that are making the album better and are making us more excited for what's to come with JID. As now, as he just went on the Joe Budden podcast, he discussed a lot in this interview. And now from where JID's career is at to who he may have ready to collab with on the deluxe to where he stands with J. Cole and everything about the beef. Well, overall, JID had a great conversation with the JVP where we learned a lot about where he has been at ever since the J. Cole apology. And now within this, what JID told us about that is that he wasn't talking to Cole directly during the beef, and he was the only Dreamville artist who was not there when J. Cole did the infamous apology, and was even surprised that 7-Minute Drill dropped in the first place. And what JID pretty much ended up saying about this is that he had no idea what was going on with any of the beef and kind of stayed out of things. But even with his proximity to Cole and everything that was happening there, and kind of the tension that still remains, JID did still talk very positively about Kendrick Lamar and even revealed that the idea of them collaborating could very well happen soon, or it already did and we just don't know, and JID's trying to keep it a secret. And now I say this because when JID was asked what rappers he wants to work with over every other person, his answer was obvious and clear. And he told the pod up there that he wants to collab with Dot and he can't wait to do this, despite everything else and the implications that people may think of it. And now with the Clips being on this record and them being teamed up, I don't think this is too far out of the realm of possibility from happening. And as there is a deluxe version of this record which is supposed to drop in some days and has some big-time superstars and legends on it apparently.
I mean, who knows? There could be a chance that JID is trolling and being cryptic and we get it there, but I really don't think this is the case. But I do think that JID and Dot will be a closer possibility than ever now that the Clips have made a song with them as well. But now within this conversation around Kendrick, Clips, JID, and all these lyrical rappers, when it comes to J. Cole, well, JID has made it clear that they have not been speaking directly as much. What JID did reveal now is that while Cole is nowhere near the credits of this album in any capacity, still JID and Cole have recorded a 15-track collab album that JID seems very proud of. Although it seems like there is no actual plan to release this thing or anything like that. And just with finding this out, it's really interesting to hear how much music Jay has been making and working on, and even with Cole at a time, yet none of it is dropped. And what I do think we will find out now as Jay is more outside than ever in this time is the full extent of how possible behind-the-scenes issues and everything there held back some of his plans. But regardless of what may have gone down and where things got shelved for a while, because again, and just to add, Jay also did say he made this album around the same time as the Forever Story and everything has been pretty much done, which once again is not just making